Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sarika and I'm here to introduce the speakers for today's topic Yoga and Wellbeing for All, a webinar on yogic and mental well-being practices into combat with coronavirus. Acharya Dr. D. Muralidhara Rao, working as a professor in the Department of Biotechnology, Sri Krishna Devaraya University, Anantapur, Andhra Pradesh. Acharya Rao was recognized as an international yoga teacher and therapist by International Yoga Association, United States of America. Besides that, Dr. Rao is a Sanskrit scholar, Siddha Samadhi yoga practitioner and teacher. Acharya guided more than 5,000 people all over the globe. Dr. Rao is expert in natural medicine compounds. Professor Rao designed Rama Raksha Kriya, one of the yogic kriya, and spread the knowledge to humankind. Acharya wrote several science research papers related to the human health. He has a vast experience and expertise in Ashtanga Yoga. Professor Rao will be offering simple yet powerful yogic practices to combat the coronavirus. Professor Rao, you may start the session now.
जय गुरुदेव. सदाशिव समारंभं शंकराचार्य मध्यमं अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तं वंदे गुरु परंपरा. गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. Today is International Yoga Day. The theme of the present Yoga Day 2020 is Yoga at home with family. We are all facing COVID problem. It is one of the very severe problem. Most of the world, most of the people, they are facing the present COVID problem. How to overcome this corona COVID problem? Yoga is one of the ancient ways, Sanatana Dharma, which gives lot of strength and lot of information how to overcome with this present COVID situation. Now let us look at what is yoga. Yoga is a group of physical, mental and spiritual practices or disciplines which originated in ancient India. There is a broad variety of yoga schools, practices and goals in Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism. The term yoga in the Western world often denotes a modern form of Hatha Yoga and yoga as exercise, consisting largely of the postures of asanas. The practice of yoga has been thought to date back to pre-Vedic Indian traditions, possibly in the Indus Valley civilization around 3000 BC. Yoga is mentioned in the Rig Veda and also referred in the Upanishads. Although yoga must likely developed as a systematic study around the 5th and 6th centuries BC in ancient India and other movements. The chronology of earliest text describing yoga practices is unclear, varyingly credited to the Upanishads. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali date from the 2nd century BC and gained prominence in the West in the 20th century after being first introduced by Swami Vivekananda. Hatha Yoga texts begin to emerge sometime between the 9th and 11th century with origins in Tantra. Great yoga gurus from India later introduced yoga to the Western world following the success of Swami Vivekananda in the late 19th and early 20th century with his adaptation of yoga tradition, excluding asanas. Outside of India, it has been developed into a posture based physical fitness, stress relief, and relaxation technique. Yoga in Indian tradition, however, is more than physical exercise. It has a meditative and spiritual core. One of the 6 major orthodox schools in Hinduism is also called yoga, which has its own epistemology, ontology, and metaphysics, and is closely related to Hindu Samkhya philosophy. Well, there are different definitions. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodhaka. This was mentioned by Patanjali Rishi in Yoga Sutras. Yoga is the calming down the fluctuations or patterns of consciousness. Kathopanishad says, when the 5 senses along with the mind remain still and the intellect is not active, that is known as highest state. They consider yoga to be firm and resistance of the senses. Then one becomes undistracted. For yoga is the arising and the passing away. Bhagavad Gita also quotes, be equal minded in both success and failure. Sthiti prajnata. Such equanimity is called yoga. Yoga is a skill in action. Know that which is called yoga to be separation from contact with suffering. And there are many definitions, very different narrations about the yoga and its concepts. What exact the goals of the yoga is? The ultimate goal of yoga is moksha, that we can call it as liberation. Although the exact from this takes depend on philosophical or theological system with which it is conjugated. In the classical Ashtanga yoga system, the ultimate goal of yoga practice is to achieve the state of samadhi and abide in the state as pure awareness. Well, when we look at what are the different offshoots in Ashtanga yoga, the mentioned Ashtanga yoga by Patanjali, he defined 8-limbed yoga sutras. Yama Niyama is one. Ahimsa, non-violence, non-harming to other living organisms, which includes Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha, etc. The 8 niyamas follows like this: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Coming to the niyama, where purity, clearness of mind with including speech and body, santosha and swadhyaya, these are all comes under the niyama. Asana literally means a seat, the sitting position, and in Patanjali Sutras refers to the seated position used for meditation. Pranayama, a breathing exercise, which is an important aspect. Pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses, withdrawal of the sense organs from external objects. Dhyana, fixing the attention on a single object, dharana, dhyana, intensive contemplation of the nature of the object of meditation. Samadhi is merging consciousness with the object of meditation. So, Hindu scholars, different yogic scholars, they formulated different aspects of yoga and they prescribed suitable conditions how to perform yoga. Dear friends, the entire world is stressed about coronavirus. Here now, how yoga can help to overcome this problem. The solution is put your asana, breath work, and a few Ayurvedic herbs and rituals to use to stay calm, get the sleep you need, and boost your immune system. Well, what are the other tips for optimizing your immune system? Very fundamentally is gargle warm salt water and use a neti pot. Ancient Ayurvedic strategy: dissolve about half spoon of Himalayan salt or sea salt in 8 ounces of warm water. You gargle this in the morning, early morning, which kills most of the unwanted bacteria and also which improves your immune system. A balanced circadian clock of your internal time keeping for cycles of sleep and alertness is directly linked to a strong immune system according to Ayurveda. John Dowlard, a Nobel Prize winner in science, explains that ancient Ayurvedic wisdom with modern science. He suggests that going to bed 2 to 3 hours after sunset and getting up with the sun, which helps and maintains healthy circadian rhythms. Another way to get better sleep and boost immunity is disconnect from the damaging blue light emitted from your screens by wearing blue light glasses or turning your night filter on 24/7. Avoid this blue light in the night times. And McCall is another scientist. He recommends using yoga and Ayurveda to build a foundation for immunity, living your life in accordance with the rhythms of nature, enough sleep, eating food full of prana. You must eat the food which is having high prana shakti and the building ojas, the overall well-being. Immunity is about how you live your life. Our big assignment as yogis is try to be content and go about our lives as best as we can in the face of uncertainty. The reality is that fear puts us in touch with the truth, which is that we can sometimes affect outcomes, but ultimately we don't have control over what happens to us. And using the different supplements, healthy supplements Ayurvedic herbs such as ashwagandha is one of the excellent herb. You must consume ashwagandha every day. Turmeric, ginger, we can also call it as a shunti in Samskrita, guduchi, Tinospora cardifolia. In Telugu we can call it as tippatiga. In Sanskrit it is amrutavalli, one of the excellent immune boosters. We can call it as immune modulators. And pepper is one of the beautiful herb which enhances and which acts as bactericidal, virucidal compounds. And as far as the yogic way is concerned, deep breathing exercise. Your lungs are the biggest lymph forms. Clearing out clutter and toxins. Daily practice of pranayama to mitigate stress and boost immunity. Deep breathing or complete yogic breath will do anything that opens your lungs and side ribs and keeps things moving. And apart from this, Abhyangana is one of the therapy. Using organic oils such as sesame oil, nuvula nune, though olive or coconut oil work too, to nourish and hydrate skin and settle the fragile nerves. This is a preventive measure only. When you are sick, your metabolism is trying to process toxins, can get overwhelmed talking on both bugs and heavy oils. For ages, yoga has been India's way of life. It's a mix of physical, mental and spiritual practices or disciplines that keep you strong in every sense. With COVID-19 cases increasing every single day, it's time to get active and take self-responsibility. There are different asanas prescribed, very easy asanas like Vrukshasana, Ardha Chakrasana, Padahastasana, Bhujangasana, Trikonasana, Vajrasana, Shalabhasana, Shashankasana and Setubandhasana. These are all the very easy asanas which helps you a lot and which enhances your immune system. Well, as the world convulses from the effects of coronavirus, much attention has gone towards self-isolation and drawing inwards. It's the time of social distancing. Western culture associates yoga with physical postures, but the practice of yoga is much broader than that. It encompasses values and beliefs with respect to the relationship to yourself and others. It incorporates specific breathing exercises. It also includes practices that involves a withdrawal of senses as well as meditation amongst the others. In some respects, it provides complete blueprint of living as the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali. Yoga is about reducing the fluctuations in the mind. Practice of yoga is complete science or guide to living. In some times of crisis, having an understanding of some of the principles of yoga can help us get through the difficult times. A yoga practice can serve as a bedrock for stability, clarity and inner strength. It does not provide a cure to coronavirus, but what yoga does is provide a system to help you deal with and move through the crisis. Through values that are mindful of others whilst at the same time drawing upon our inner strength, breathing in a smart, conscious way, practicing postures as a part of our daily indoor routine, limiting our time online, and the way we react to news and events, and finally finding solace or inner peace through meditation. We too can fight the coronavirus. One of the verses quoted most popularly in Gita is yoga is ability in practice. But some may wonder how to attain this cool, selfless state of being in which our fear, emotions does not overpower our thinking. Modern science let us understand the working of these yoga methods that have become the test of time. The secret of achieving harmony and tranquility can be found in our autonomous nervous system ANS, which inter alia cooperate largely unconsciously and control our respiratory system. Two main branches of this system are the sympathetic nervous system SNS, responsible for battle or fight reflex, and the parasympathetic nervous system PNS, responsible for the remainder of the reflex and digest. We can use yoga techniques that work on vagus nerve, which runs from the brain to the abdomen, to stimulate the PNS to relieve anxiety and relax. Research has shown that various forms of pranayama or breath work lead to higher vagal tone, balancing the autonomous nervous system. The heart rate normally speeds up when you breathe in and slows as you exhale. The higher the difference between the heart rate of inhalation and exhalation, the higher the vagal sound and the quicker the body can relax. One of the simplest ventilation strategies are deep conscious diaphragmatic breathing or belly breathing while slightly restricting the throat opening. The air first reaches the lower belly while inhaling, rises to the lower rib cage and passes through the upper chest and throat. We can call it as Ujjayi or triumphant breathing. It is usually done with 1:2 inhalation exhalation ratio. The inhalation is only from the exhalation through the left nostril from both nostrils by closing the right nostril with the thumb. Starting by inhaling for 4 seconds, then exhale for 8 seconds, making sure the breathing is smooth and even. You want to start practicing for 5 minutes and slowly you build up. When you begin to meditate, this technique will energize and calm the body. A type of meditation that is particularly useful for relaxing the nervous system is called Yoga Nidra, yogic sleep, a lying down practice of mindfulness in which the body is fully relaxed. Yoga has a way out, just keep calm and breathe on, where Yoga Nidra is one of the excellent relaxation techniques. The secret to achieving harmony and tranquility can be found in our autonomous nervous system, which inter alia operates largely unconsciously and control our respiratory system. Yoga techniques works on vagus nerve, which runs from the brain to the abdomen to stimulate the PNS to relieve anxiety and relax. The heart rate normally speeds up when you breathe in and slows as you exhale. The higher the difference between the heart rate of inhalation and exhalation, the higher the vagal sound and the quicker the body can relax. Dear friends, as I mentioned while back, pranayama, there are different ways, different techniques which includes in the pranayama, like Vibhaga pranayama, mudra pranayama, dhauti, bhastrika, anuloma viloma pranayama. Some people also say this as amruta pranayama. These are all the important pranayama methods which enhances your immune system and also strengthens lungs. Apart from this, the asanas, as I mentioned in the earlier, like the Vajrasana, Bhujangasana, Dhanurasana, Shalabhasana, Mayurasana, Sarvangasana, all these asanas also helps to overcome the present day problem. My dear friends, you remember, without food restrictions, it is quite impossible to achieve good health. What food restrictions that we need? Avoid all types of energy drinks such as your caffeine mixed coffee, tea and other stimulants. Use always high energy prana shakti foods such as ash gods, cucumbers and other high energy pranic energy foods, and drink sufficient adequate water. Most of the time in the early morning use warm water. Apart from this, good sleep and other supplements such as vitamin D3 is very important. Vitamin C, B12 complex, vitamin E is one of the excellent supplements. And social distancing. Always use masks. And stay home. Don't go away without any reason. So these are the very small and important tips which helps you to overcome this coronavirus. Thank you all of you for your patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for offering us simple yet useful yogic practices. Now, I am pleased to introduce you to Mr. Shivananda, a life coach, motivational speaker, and mental health specialist. Shivananda's mission is to inspire people and motivate them to live their life to the fullest. He is a certified life coach from Symbiosis Coaching Institute, USA, and also holds the Masters in Counseling and Psychotherapy. He has delivered numerous motivational lectures and helped many individuals and students to overcome their mental barriers. Mr. Shivananda will be discussing the importance of well being during the challenging times like COVID 19 and suggesting us few key mental health practices. Mr. Shivananda, you may start your session now.
Thank you, Sarika. And thank you so much, Professor Rao, for an insightful session on yoga and its powerful practices, along with other immunity boosters to prevent ourselves from coronavirus. Good afternoon, all. I am going to share on this auspicious day the vital role that mental well being plays in our lives and also few best practices that we can put to use to combat with coronavirus effectively. Before we get into mental well-being, let's look at what well-being means. Well-being is all about feeling good and functioning well. It comprises each individual's experience of their life and a comparison of life circumstances with social norms and values. It can be both subjective and objective. Now, let's look at what mental well-being is. As the word resonates, it is a state of being. If you have a good mental well-being, then you are confident and you exhibit positive self-esteem. You are able to feel and express emotions freely. You can build and maintain good relationships with others. You can cope up with the stress both at personal and professional level. You feel engaged with the world and you live and work productively. What is significance of mental well-being during challenging times like COVID-19 or any other crisis where we don't have much control? Before we move on further on this aspect, friends, let me tell you a story. Once Buddha was walking from one town to another town with a few of his disciples. One disciple came to Buddha and said, "Master, my mind is full of turmoil. I feel anxious, depressed, sad, and exhausted," and begged his help. While they were traveling, they happened to pass a lake, and Buddha stopped there to take rest for a while as he got tired. Buddha called the disciple who begged his help and said, "I am thirsty. Please get me some water from that lake there." The disciple walked up to the lake. When he reached it, he noticed that some people were washing clothes in the water. And at the moment, a bullock cart started crossing the lake right at the edge of it. As a result, the water became very muddy and dirty. The disciple thought, "How can I give this muddy water to my master?" So he came back and told the Buddha, "The water in the lake is very muddy. I don't think it is fit to drink, Master." So the Buddha said, "Let us take a little rest here by the tree." After about half an hour, again Buddha asked the same disciple to go back to the lake and get him some water to drink. The disciple obediently went back to the lake. This time he found that the lake had absolutely clear water in it. The mud had settled down and the water above it and looked fit to be had. So he collected some water in a pot and brought it to the Buddha. The Buddha looked at the water and then he looked up at the disciple and said, "See, you let the water be, and the mud settled down on its own. You got clear water. It didn't require any effort." And also he said, "Your mind is also like this. When it is disturbed, just let it be. Give it a little time. It will settle down on its own. You don't have to put in any effort to calm it down. We can judge and take best decisions of our life when we stay calm." What this story tells us that mental well-being is of paramount importance in our lives. Moreover, we should maintain it all the time, not just during the crisis. Because mental well-being gives us a great sense of calm or inner peace, reduction in anxiety, clarity in thinking, reduced risk of depression, and improvements in relationships. So, how can we nurture the mental well-being to combat with unprecedented pandemics like COVID-19? I am going to suggest you 8 simple yet powerful practices that will help you to cultivate and maintain your mental well-being. The first practice of mental well-being is practicing the art of uncertainty. Friends, first and foremost, we should embrace the uncertainty by accepting that anything can happen in our lives. We should always expect the unexpected. This one behavioral aspect will help us to develop mental well-being and also help us to sail through the challenging times effortlessly. The second practice is being comfortable with uncomfortable. Another reason that most of the people get anxious and depressed is that their comfort zones are broken and they are not willing to do necessary changes to their lifestyles according to the current situations. In order to improve the mental well-being, we should be flexible enough to do the required changes by being comfortable with uncomfortable situations that life throws at us. As Charles Darwin rightly remarked that it's not the strongest of the species that survives, it is the one that is most adaptable to change. The third practice is expressing gratitude. One more reason that most of us feel worried, sad, and lose the hope during the challenging times like COVID is that we don't count what we have. Instead, we always strive for what we don't have. Expressing the gratitude what we have, be it a family, relationships, and other ambiences of life, you feel much stronger and more resilient towards the external situations. So friends, start and end your day with gratitude to cope up with difficult times by strengthening your hope. Please remember that gratitude changes everything. The fourth practice is physical well-being. As they say, a strong body makes the mind strong. It is very important to look after your physical well-being to nurture your mental well-being. So, friends, keep aside some time for physical activity, be it yoga, walking, jogging, or any other physical regime to strengthen your body and your immune system. It is scientifically proven that any sort of physical routine will help your body to produce endorphins, which releases the stress levels. The fifth practice is that continuing your daily routine. It may so happen that sometimes external situations hamper your daily routine due to the precautionary measures taken by the government authorities or temporary call off by your organizations during the pandemic. The best way to maintain your well being is to keep yourself busy with some daily routine that makes you happy and productive. Because, friends, worry won't help but work well. The sixth practice is connecting with others. As we all know, human beings are social animals and we would love to connect, share, and celebrate. However, during current times of social distancing, explore new ways to connect with your old friends, relatives, teachers to share and celebrate your life. Again, networking will help your body to release a stress free and a lovely hormone called oxytocin. So, friends, be connected and be happy. The seventh practice is revealing your best version. As they say, every adversity brings new opportunity. Use this time to pursue your hobbies, be it a singing, authoring a book, practicing the art, and trying out a new musical instrument, etc. You will never know what potential you have unless you give it a try. Otherwise, you will miss the opportunity to reveal your best version. Also, trying out new things will help your brain to fire new neural pathways to form a new habits. The eighth practice is being mindful. Last but not the least, and most important aspect to nourish your mental well-being is being mindful. Mindfulness means maintaining a moment by moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environments. When we practice mindfulness, our thoughts tune into what we are sensing in the present moment rather than rehashing the past or imagining the future. Friends, the best way to practice mindfulness is to meditate, as suggested in the previous session by the Professor Mr. Rao. That said, please do remember that mental well-being is not a destination but a process. It's about how you drive, not where you're going. So friends, maintain mental well-being and combat with corona effectively and effortlessly. Thanks for listening to me.
Thanks Professor Rao and Mr. Shivananda for offering us invaluable yogic and mental well-being practices to combat the coronavirus. We appreciate both of you for spending time on the occasion of International Yoga Day. Thank you so much and thank you all for joining us.